If you're one of the over 75 million Americans who depend on these benefits, you absolutely need to stay until the end of this video because I'm going to break down exactly how much more money you'll be receiving when these increases take effect, and most importantly, what this means for your specific situation. And here's the thing, many people don't even realize they're eligible for these increases. So hit that subscribe button right now, ring the notification bell, and let's dive into the numbers that could change your financial outlook for the better. Let's start with the big announcement that has everyone talking. The Social Security Administration has officially confirmed that benefits will increase by 2.5% in 2025. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, 2.5% doesn't sound like much, but when we break this down into real dollars and cents, you'll see why this matters more than you might realize. This cost of living adjustment, or COLA as it's commonly called, affects more than 72.5 million Americans who receive Social Security and Supplemental Security income benefits. But what does this actually mean for your monthly check? Let's talk real numbers here because that's what matters when you're planning your budget and trying to make ends meet. If you're receiving the average Social Security retirement benefit, which is currently around $1,900 per month, this 2.5% increase translates to an additional $47.50 each month. That might not sound like a fortune, but over the course of a year, we're talking about an extra $570 in your pocket. For many retirees, that's the difference between choosing between medications and groceries, or it's enough to cover that monthly utility bill that keeps climbing higher. The timing of these increases is something that brings hope to millions of families across the country. Social Security recipients will see this increase beginning with their January 2025 payments. That means if you typically receive your Social Security payment on the second, third, or fourth Wednesday of the month, your first increased payment will arrive in January. For those receiving Supplemental Security income, the increased payment will arrive on January 1 SD, giving you a New Year's gift that keeps on giving throughout the year. Now, let's talk about something that affects millions of Americans who often feel overlooked in these discussions. If you're receiving Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, this 2.5% increase applies to you as well. Disability benefits follow the same COLA adjustments as retirement benefits, which means your monthly payment will increase by the same percentage. For someone receiving $1,500 per month in SSDI benefits, this translates to an additional $37.50 each month, or $450 over the course of the year. When you're dealing with the challenges of disability and the financial strain that often comes with it, every dollar counts, and this increase provides some much-needed breathing room. For those receiving Supplemental Security income, the increases are equally important. SSI recipients, who often are among the most financially vulnerable in our society, will see their maximum federal benefit amounts increase accordingly. The individual federal benefit rate will increase, and for many recipients, this represents one of the few times their income grows to help keep pace with rising costs. Have you ever wondered why these increases happen automatically? It's because Congress recognized decades ago that people on fixed incomes needed protection against inflation, and they built these cost of living adjustments into the law. Veterans receiving disability compensation have their own reason to celebrate, and the news is just as encouraging. VA disability benefits are also increasing by 2.5% in 2025, following the same cost of living adjustment that applies to Social Security benefits. But here's where it gets interesting for veterans. The actual dollar amounts can be quite substantial depending on your disability rating. For a veteran with a 100% disability rating and no dependents, the monthly payment increases from approximately $3,737 to $3,831, which represents an additional $94 per month or over $1,100 extra per year. Veterans with lower disability ratings will see proportional increases. A veteran with a 50% rating will see their monthly payment increase by about $47, while those with a 30% rating will receive an additional $28 each month. What's particularly important for veterans to understand is that these increases apply regardless of whether you have dependents, though veterans with higher ratings who have spouses or children may see even larger total increases when the dependent allowances are factored in. But there's something crucial that many people don't realize about these increases. You don't need to do anything to receive them. There's no paperwork to fill out, no applications to submit, and no phone calls to make. These increases happen automatically based on the cost of living calculations that the government performs each year. The Social Security Administration and the Department of Veterans Affairs handle all of this behind the scenes, which means your increased payment will simply show up in your bank account or on your benefit card without any action required on your part. The method behind these calculations is something that affects every recipient, yet many people don't understand how it works. The cost of living adjustment is based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which measures the average change over time in the prices that consumers pay for goods and services. When this index shows that prices have increased over the previous year, benefit amounts are adjusted upward to help recipients maintain their purchasing power. The interesting thing about this year's 2.5% increase is that it's actually more moderate than some of the increases we've seen in recent years. In 2022, recipients saw an increase of 5.9%, and in 2023, the increase was 8.7%, reflecting the higher inflation rates during those periods. While 2.5% might seem smaller in comparison, it's important to understand that this represents a more stable economic environment. What this means for recipients is that while the immediate dollar increase might be less dramatic than in recent years, it suggests that the overall cost of living is becoming more predictable and manageable. This stability can be just as valuable as larger increases because it allows for better long-term financial planning. For families who have been struggling with the rising costs of everything from housing to healthcare, these increases provide some relief. But they also highlight the ongoing challenges that many Americans face on fixed incomes. The reality is that even with these increases, many recipients find that their benefits don't stretch as far as they used to. Healthcare costs, in particular, continue to rise faster than the general rate of inflation, which means that even with COLA adjustments, some recipients may find themselves struggling to cover medical expenses. This is where understanding your benefits becomes crucial. Beyond the basic COLA increase, there are other aspects of your benefits that might change in 2025. For Social Security recipients, the maximum taxable earnings subject to Social Security taxes increases to $176,100, up from $168,600 in 2024. While this doesn't directly affect current recipients, it does impact the system's long-term funding and may influence future benefit calculations for people still working and paying into the system. Medicare recipients also need to be aware that while their Social Security benefits are increasing, Medicare premiums can also change. The Medicare Part B premium for 2025 has been announced, and for many recipients, the increase in Social Security benefits will be partially offset by changes in Medicare costs. This is something that catches many people off guard because they see the announcement of a Social Security increase but don't realize that other deductions from their benefits might also change. For those receiving both Social Security and veterans benefits, the good news is that both systems are providing increases, which means a double benefit for qualifying recipients. However, it's important to understand how these benefits interact with each other. In most cases, receiving VA disability compensation does not affect your Social Security benefits, and vice versa, which means you can receive the full increase from both programs if you qualify for both. The broader economic implications of these increases are worth considering as well. When over 75 million Americans receive additional money each month, that has a ripple effect throughout the economy. These recipients typically spend their benefits on necessities like food, housing, healthcare, and transportation, which means this money goes directly back into local communities and businesses. In many ways, these COLA increases serve as an economic stimulus that helps support not just individual recipients, but entire communities. Looking ahead, recipients should understand that these increases are reviewed annually, and future adjustments will depend on economic conditions and inflation rates. The Social Security Administration announces the following year's COLA each October, based on the inflation data from the third quarter of the year. This means that planning for the future requires staying informed about economic trends and understanding how they might affect your benefits. For many recipients, these increases represent more than just additional money. They represent dignity, security, and the ability to maintain independence. When you've worked your entire life and paid into these systems, or when you've served your country and sustained injuries in that service, these benefits aren't just government handouts, they're earned benefits that you've paid for through your contributions and sacrifices. As we wrap up, remember that these increases take effect starting in January 2025, and you don't need to do anything to receive them. Whether you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, SSDI, SSI, or VA disability compensation, your increased payment will appear automatically. But here's what you should do right now. Make sure your direct deposit information is up to date with the Social Security Administration or the VA, and consider how this additional income might fit into your monthly budget and financial planning. If this video helped you understand your benefits better, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family members who might benefit from this information.